Hi, Dr. Jackie Kickish, and in this video, I want to talk to you about safe versus unsafe exercises when it comes to healing your diastasis recti and pelvic floor dysfunction. So this is a very common question that I get a lot in the DMs. Is this exercise safe for me? Should I be doing it? Should I not? And I'm going to answer that today for you a little bit more in depth. But before we do so, please make sure to grab my free Quick Start Healing Guide. And it also includes a free 14-day exercise plan to get your body safely moving again and re-strengthen your core. So make sure you get that below in the show notes. All right, so this is a very hot topic in the online space. And that is for a couple of different reasons, right? So a lot of times you'll see people, this is a 15-minute safe DR exercise program, safe versus unsafe exercises. So what is the real answer? And before we get to that answer, I do want to do a little bit of education. I am a physical therapist and certified pre and postnatal exercise specialist. So it's really important for me to make sure that moms, whether you're pregnant with a baby or whether you are postpartum, that you really understand what your core is and how it functions. So before we get into the answer, I really just quickly want to review a little bit about what is the core and how it works. All right, so this is my lovely balloon here that shows you kind of everything in basically the front of the abdominal wall here. So this is the diaphragm, the main breathing muscle that sits right underneath the rib cage. Then we have the pelvic floor muscles, which is basically the bottom, okay, of the core. So I want you to think about your core as a canister, all right? So it is a canister that must modulate pressure and regulate pressure correctly in order for it to heal and function properly, okay? So besides the diaphragm and the pelvic floor muscles down here below, we have our six-pack muscles in front. We have our obliques on the side. We have our low back muscles in the back of the spine. And then we have our glutes, right? Which stabilize the hips, the pelvis, extends our hip. It's also known as our buttocks muscles. All of those different muscle groups is actually what makes up our core. All right. Anytime that we do a certain exercise or task, whether it's picking up our toddler, lifting a weight, or doing a core exercise, we are creating pressure through our abdominal wall, okay? We are putting pressure through our core. So it really comes down to how do we handle that pressure in our core? How does our body handle the pressure that we are putting through it? Because here's the thing about pressure is that it does have to leave your body. It has to leave through the path of least resistance. So, for example, this was what happened to me. I was doing core work, abdominal exercises that I should not have been doing about a year postpartum after my twins. I was not a postpartum exercise specialist at the time, and my abdominal wall was still weak. I was doing core exercises that put too much pressure through my abdominal wall. And not only did it make my DR worse, but it also actually created an umbilical hernia because the pressure had to leave somewhere. In other words, my core was not strong enough to be doing the exercises that I was doing. Now, let's say that maybe your abdominal wall is pretty strong, but maybe your pelvic floor is very weak, right? If we're doing certain exercises and tasks and we feel pressure putting down onto our pelvic floor, that is not good either. We don't want that as well, all right? Because that can actually lead to prolapse, also known as POP, pelvic organ prolapse, where our organs that are, in our pelvic area actually descend and come out of basically the anatomical area that they should be in. This is also not good. We don't want either one of those because that really is an injury to the mom postpartum. The thing is, in order to heal our diastasis recti or pelvic floor dysfunction is that we do need some pressure, right? But it is the right amount of pressure that matters the most. So we don't want too much that's going to cause an injury like a hernia, worsen the DR, or prolapse. And then we also don't want too little pressure to where we're not doing enough. So it's kind of a balancing act where we're trying to get just the right amount of pressure. So here are some tips to know that if you are doing an exercise and maybe it is not safe for you. So here is the answer. When it comes down to safe versus unsafe exercises for diastasis recti and pelvic floor recovery, it really depends on the person. And here is why. We were talking about pressure management before. It really comes down to how you are able to regulate pressure through your core or through your canister, right? So if we're putting a lot of pressure down onto our pelvic floor and our abdominal wall, again, that pressure has to leave somewhere. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that someone is, 4, 5, 6 months postpartum, and they're asking me, am I able to do a side plank or maybe even a modified side plank? So I'm on my side and like this, and I'm lifting up, okay? So, I am able to do this because I am able to manage my pressure correctly in my core. Now, if you're doing a certain core exercise and you notice that your abdominal wall is coning or doming, meaning it's kind of pushing out almost, and if you look down, you can kind of see a bulge coming out of this midline area, that means that your core is not able to handle the amount of pressure that you are putting through it, and therefore that would not be a great exercise for you to do. We need to modify, make that exercise a little bit easier so you're not putting as much pressure through your abdominal wall and pelvic floor. So I hope this helps. All right, so this is why, as a physical therapist and certified pre and postnatal exercise specialist, there really is no, safe list of exercises for a mom postpartum or unsafe exercises for moms postpartum. It really depends on how your body is able to regulate and modulate the pressure in your core. Again, I want you to think about your core almost as a canister that we have to be putting not too much, but not too little amount of pressure through it. So I will say, for postpartum moms, obviously I'm not going to start them off in full planks or full push-ups because those are exercises that put direct pressure down through your core and pelvic floor. So that's obviously not where we're going to start. Eventually, that of course is the goal, to be able to do full planks, full push-ups, exercise and run how you were able to do before you got pregnant. However, we do have to, progress appropriately and kind of go in baby steps. Unfortunately, working on a lot of the basics, some of the easier exercises, and gradually progress to the harder exercises. So let me know what you think about this. Ask any questions in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on other great postpartum content like this. I will see you again next time. Bye.